Welcome to the E Show, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. Founded in 2013, the EHL is your next step on the path to college. Over the past decade, the EHL has established itself as the college placement leader on the East Coast. And now, here's your host, the commissioner of the Eastern Hockey League, Neil Ravin.
Thanks, Jim. And with that, let's bring in Jeff and Anthony. Guys, I can officially say a week and a half, 2 weeks later, I am finally recovered from the showcase. How about you?
You sound much better.
Thank you.
You sound great. Anthony, let's hear your voice. La, 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 la.
You know, the showcase sniffles was kind of delayed because I had that game against Philadelphia Hockey Club that Chris and I had called. And then after that game, that's where my health took a little bit of a nosedive. But I'm coming back from that now. I think it just might be autumn allergies for me. I don't know how else to describe it, but I'm good to go. I'm ready. So let's do this.
And we're recording this podcast and dropping it a day early this week. Everyone's probably going to get so pissed at me. Speaking of scheduling, Anthony, they're going to be like, oh, every week you said the podcast comes out on Thursdays, and you do a Wednesday this week. May do some sort of best of next week. So while we're getting this podcast out there, things are very active in the EHL. There's 6 games today in the EHL, 2 games in the EHLP. So let's talk about those right now and everything else that's taken place and around the E-Show.
Let's take a look at what's going on around the E-Show.
Around the E-Show is presented by BioSteel, the sports drink of the EHL. Use the promo code EHLB1, that's EHLB1, for 25% off when you check out at biosteel.com.
So, what division would you guys like to start in the EHL?
So you're a big symmetrical guy. Usually we try to go like north to south, south to north. I'm down to start wherever. I love them all 23.
Well, you see, you like to bounce around, though, remember, Jeff? So
yes, I do.
So we'll just
that's
go.
Why we all make such a good little like family. You know?
Should I just like close my eyes and point at the screen, and we're going to start in the North Division?
That. Oh,
that's where my finger landed.
That's what he did it. That's what he did it.
So the North Division, one of the funniest calls that I've ever seen from a coach so far this season came from Ryan McGrath, who currently
show fan.
Yeah, currently is in 5th place, but they've played the fewest number of games of any team in the division. Let's remember that, right?
Mm-hmm.
He goes, we have 2 wins, but there's one huge thing in common with those 2 wins. Okay, Ryan, what's that? He goes, we only beat undefeated teams. The Huntsman's first loss against the Warriors. The Express first loss against the Warriors. Big shout out to Grayson Payne. I mean, 50 save shutout comes. Then he gets named Star of the Week. Then he gets named to the Northeast All-Star team. We're going to get to that as well on this episode. It's just funny. The Warriors' 2 wins are against 2 undefeated teams. Is this like deja vu kind of last year, guys?
Well, I was just going to say, is it funny? It seems like history repeating itself to me, Neil and Anthony, because it's what they've always done. Back to either last year or a couple years ago when they were, a team that was kind of struggling, if we're, being honest with each other. But all of their wins, I think they had won like 15 games at the time, and it was closer towards the end of the season, were against good teams.
The North Division, remember?
I would say the Avalanche, they beat up a bunch of different times. Now the Avalanche and them are in the same division. And speaking of the North, too, we had a little last year's championship rematch. Rangers win 2-1.
Yes, we had that yesterday.
Avs already have 3 losses. What's going on, Big C? Hey,
I mean, but look at the goals for the Avs, because that's the biggest issue right now. Is when have they ever been 20th in the league in scoring?
Out of 23 teams now, folks. So
and the shots are there, right? I mean, we saw on Friday they put up 66 shots against Ben Skelton. aka Bones, as
Bones.
Strider and Jake love to say. So the shots are there. The Avalanche,
but they've only given up 13 goals too.
Yeah, I mean,
and Bows, but you can't
it's just
bet the under when the Avs are playing.
It's just like the Valley Junior Warriors. They may be in last place right now, only 6 games played, but they do have a +1 goal differential. You look at the second place Seacoast Spartans, they're at -5. The Lumberjacks in third, they're at -10. So, with the Valley Junior Warriors moving to the North Division, I think for them, I can imagine Ryan McGrath saying this too, where it's, I'm not locked in here with you. You all are locked here with me.
Very well said, Anthony. Very well said.
Well, and look at those point totals. It's so early. I know this, but Avalanche at 7, Vermont at 8, Seacoast at 8, Wolves at 9. I think it's safe to say early on, the North is different this year than last year. Okay, it's still competitive, but early on, it's a little different this year than last year. It's
a little funky.
I can't get shame for that. I mean, last year at this time, they had dominated the Worcester Showcase, and they were at the top of the power rankings, at least 3 or 4 of the teams. So
and you've been in the league for 6 years, and you've made every Frozen final. So we get the teams.
And not only that, the North Division has probably played more intra-divisional games at this point in the season than they have all of last season.
Yes, you may take some shame for that, Anthony. But anyways, not my scheduling. Okay, that's their own scheduling.
And how about the Wolves? So we didn't really talk about the Wolves being in first place through 7 games. 4-2-1.
They split this past Thursday, Friday with the Wizards, who we're going to get to the East. The Wizards haven't really slowed down at all. Despite it being no longer the month of September, right? I mean, maybe this is when they would turn things around in past years. But obviously, something to keep an eye on right now is definitely in that North Division, trying to figure out who is who, like we always say. But
who are they?
To skip out of order now, Jeff, I'll go to the Central next.
Zip on over.
And one of the most interesting and compelling teams right there at the top, 5-5-1, HC Rhode Island. I mean, it's like,
hey, Toby, we see
some games good, some games bad, but they're in every game, right?
Yep.
And they've clearly made a step forward from where they were this past year. And I don't know if it was the last episode, maybe 2 episodes ago, I think I put you guys on the spot and said who will be in the Central Division Finals. You can make a case for almost every team in this division right now.
The Apple Corps played 7 1-goal games. Every single game they've played has been a 1-goal game. That still staggers my mind. One of the most interesting teams that I saw at the showcase that I called 2 out of the 3 games, and the way they play. And I haven't seen HC Rhode Island. I think they're one of the only teams I did not get to see at the showcase.
I called their game against Philadelphia Hockey Club, and they do have a lot of really good young players. I mean, Dawson Speth is in 06.
And we talked about him and his brother last week, right? From Idaho, being watched already by NHL scouts, Neil was saying, and Perry Gaudreau, we mentioned, top of the league in points already.
Dawson Speth on the main All-Star team next week. We won't tease this any longer. Anthony and Chris are calling both games in New York, so
let's go.
He'll get to call Dawson Speth. He is the youngest player, obviously, on that team, but in 06, that's on that team. The Railers, have they quietly won 4 straight games? And I say that because they haven't played a game since the showcase. They're playing right now as we record this against the Rough Riders. They haven't played a game since the showcase, so I'm sure they're itching.
4-1-1.
I'm sure they're itching to get back on the ice today. Jeff, you mentioned the Apple Corps. Good thing for Lenny, he's only 30 years old, because to be in 7 1-goal games, at some point your heart rate's just gonna
rip the chest right apart. There's agita, there's all sorts of things that'll happen there.
The Chiefs split with the Philadelphia Little Flyers this past week. They gave 8 goals in that first game. Lost 8-4. That must have been an electric game for Joe Sindoni to call, with 12 goals, but then came right back and won in overtime the next day. So, I mean, this division, if we're going to say the North Division is interesting, the Central is even more interesting so far this year.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. Like we said, it's still so early. Coaches, players, anyone that's listening that's about to chirp us or text us or call us right after. But yeah, just a lot of, I don't know, head scratching, I guess you could say. there's no like true front runners yet. I don't think any of us
I would say I would say it's the Railers, because you look at HC Rhode Island, they've played nearly twice as many games as the Railers.
Yep.
Right? AC Rhode Island has already played 11 games. The Railers have only played 5 to this point, or no, 6, and they're playing their 7th game. I mean, Providence Hockey Club is the only other team besides the Railers who are actually over 500, and they've only played 5 games. They have a 3-2-0 record as of this recording.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, you definitely have to see the schedule level out just a little bit more before we can make any, I guess, more solid conclusions. But yeah, not to take away from HC Rhode Island or New York Apple Corps or the Connecticut Chiefs, because they've all had solid games so far and they've looked fairly strong out of the gate. But as of right now, I still think the Railers are easily the favorites of this division, and I think it's still on the other Central teams to really step it up a notch. Well, and try to catch up to them.
And I think the Railers too. I mean, the reason the division runs through them is, well, I mean, like we were just talking about, history repeating itself and whatnot, but their blend this year too. They're probably one of the most veteran laden teams we have in the EHL. They brought a ton of guys back, and we all know how their story ended last year at the Frozen Finals and how it's ended since they came into this league. It's the Odessa family. It's Sean Bertoni. It's people that truly bleed Railer blue and really want to win a championship. Very competitive franchise, a very good and successful franchise, but they haven't gotten what they want, which is a trophy. So I think there's a lot of determined veterans and just that nucleus that they've built. I know they're still trying to figure it out with goaltending, trying to replace Stefan Kulanik and Xavier Lapierre. That's not an easy task, but I think they will figure that out eventually.
Well, what you guys are saying, though, they've won it 2 years in a row until they're knocked off their pedestal, really. You guys said the division runs through them. But
right.
Obviously, very interesting so far. Anthony mentioned the Railers playing their 7th game today. Rhode Island playing their 12th game today. I mean, everyone can make the schedule whether they want to. And like, keep in mind, like, we have a showcase to end the season, March 1st through 4th. And we left the 5th as like an open day for cancellations. So knowing that teams all had 3 games during that showcase, they could schedule kind of however they pleased up until then. So some guys wanted to make sure that they were well rested going into that weekend. I mean, imagine when we get to March, we're going to be talking about a lot of different clinching scenarios that weekend at the Little Flyers rink. We're going to have teams trying to clinch playoff spots and clinch different seeds. So you look at how close the point totals are in this division, 11, 9, 7, 7, 6, 4. I mean, it's kind of like last year, a win or 2 here, you're jumping 2 or 3 spots. So,
yeah, absolutely.
To then shift to the
East and South?
Yes, then shift to the East Division that we already kind of teased a little bit.
Rangers are good, huh?
Well, it's funny. Like, they started 0-4 last year, and then
0-2 this year.
Right the ship, and then 0-2, and then won 7 straight games. I mean, like, where does this Rangers team rank so far? I mean, the scoring has been prolific as of late too. I know
Charles Watson's 5-1. Is he the next best, greatest thing to walk out of Breakaway Ice Center's goaltending crease?
Seriously.
They're averaging over 4 goals a game right now through 9 games.
So
7-game heater. Valenta 3rd in the league in points, 8 goals, 6 assists. We know Rich, and like we've talked about, I mean, they're so good and they're so deep. They still have Sweeney and Retzel playing at Premier. Most of those guys would be playing for EHL if they were in a different organization right now. So until further notice, until an injury or until someone's play slips, those 2 are just going to keep ripping up the EHL Premier with their 3 and 4 point games apiece.
Yeah.
Another veteran laden team, another team that, like the Railers we were just talking about, that brought a lot of guys back, a lot of guys that finished the job, right? Wasn't that their saying last year? Finish the job.
I think that was
everyone's.
Wasn't that the?
Was that New Jersey?
It was.
Oh god!
I confuse everybody's saying. So I was like, Adam Woolley is now calling me, Jeff. What the? rip
We
the
haven't
goal.
had to put a bleep into the podcast in a few years, Jeff. But
Yeah, we should throw one in. Yeah, it's probably been since like Brittany, I think.
Because
But
we got to keep people on their toes. Just like how we schedule the podcast itself, or how we go across the divisions and around the E show. So
yeah. Unfortunate though that we are recording this as the Boston Junior Rangers play the Boston Junior Terriers for the first time. An awesome matchup to watch there. I mentioned the Wizards having split their this past week series with the Wolves, still right there, with 5 wins so far. We came out with our first power rankings. I'm sure mostly everyone saw those. Try to get back to them right now, with a few East Division teams in that. Is the East the best division right now? Be hard to say not the case, right?
Yeah, I think so. Just with the sheer depth. Again, a team like the Warriors, that's the Seahawks in the East Division, that as far as they just haven't played enough games yet, but another team that I saw during the showcase that they're going to be good too. They're 3-3 through 6. Our Rangers obviously playing the most at 9. Terriers and Wizards at 8. Express are dynamite. They've only played 5 games, so
5 games. They've played 5 games. Rhode Island's played 12 after today. Actually, sorry. Express have their 6th game today against the Lumberjacks.
It's like so double polar opposite.
Hey, everyone can make their schedule differently. Remember,
yes, they can. Yeah, that is correct.
We do
have to run it through you, but
we do have a few games during the college series next week. There are 3 games taking place during the college series, and those teams ask if they could do it. I said, you could be missing all-stars as long as you're okay with that. And to them, it was just more of an opportunity for somebody else, right? So,
right. I mean, yeah.
Plus, it's unique for those teams because they thought like they didn't want to have a full week off with no games, right? Mm-hmm. So, but then to wrap it up, we'll end in the South. I know Anthony wanted to get to this one first, but we'll start with the South maybe next time. One of the best games, arguably, of this past weekend was that Bears Apple Core game, another 1-goal game. How good has Carson Fry been for the New Jersey Bears so far this season, guys?
6-1. No big deal. No big deal in capital letters too. The kid is an absolute monster, but yeah, he was great. I did see him. And actually the funny thing is I saw him for his one loss this year. I actually called his game when he lost to the Railers.
Wow.
But I think that was, so I don't know, Carson, maybe I'll stay away from the mic when you're in the crease, bud. But no, I think that was, we had talked about that last week. I think that game was their 3rd game in 3 days at the showcase. And I don't know if that's a true barometer of Carson Fry. It really isn't. Look at the rest of his body of work. That's truly what this kid is. But yeah, that's a team that everybody at the showcase was saying, are they for real? They're so unknown, because everyone knows they used to be Pro Tech, but they're no longer Pro Tech. Still got a little orange to give you the Pro Tech feel, but it's a completely new team, completely new staff, completely new arena. And Jason Kilcoyne, a good coach that we all know, is doing a great job with them.
Anthony, let's put you on the spot right now since you're calling the games next week. Have you looked at the main All-Star team roster at all? You saw the goaltenders? So we got Ryan Crouchaw, Carson Fry, and Ben Skelton. Is Carson Fry the starting goaltender in the first game? Mm-hmm. If you were the coaching staff, would you put him in goal the first game to start?
Yeah, I think I would. It's funny though. I want to bring up though. I just saw the box score for this Apple Core Bears game, and I feel like there's one of 2 conclusions. Either one, someone needs to talk to the scorekeeper in Flemington to see like whether or not they're pumping up the shot totals. Because Apple Core had 53 shots on goal.
Well, hold on. Let's do this, Anthony.
Please.
I've been checking Instat for confirmation, because Instat goes back and
Instat never lies, folks.
Well, they've been 99% accurate. I'll say that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to find the game right now. What day are we talking about, Anthony, again?
That 4-3 game between Apple Core and the Bears on October 6th.
Why do I not have that one yet? Do not have it yet. I can't confirm. But like there was a game where the Apple Core listed 70 shots against the Chiefs. That was the Ryan Croushot game that he beat.
Yeah.
He beat them. I went to Instat and it said they had 71 shots on goal. So
actually I think Lenny was the one that told me too at the showcase. He was like, Jefferson, we were not pumping shots. That was a true, real 70. So
well,
I think Coach Heffernan said that too.
So and it's actually funny now because the 2 games where he's faced 50 or more shots or made 50 or more saves, both against Apple Core, September 23rd. That was the game that Carson Fry made 63 saves on 64 shots.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's anybody that thrives under a heavy workload, it seems to be Carson Fry. So when you go up against a college team where you're going up against some really good teams and probably going to spend a good deal of the game in your own end, then Fry just seems like the logical choice.
Yeah.
Well, like you had asked, Neil, too, it's like, I guess we could ask the college coaches because most of them have done it before, but you probably want to start with him so that you keep you kind of calm everyone else down? Or do you want to use someone like that as like a closer? But then if the game gets too far away, there's a lot of strategy involved in it.
Well,
I don't know.
And we added Anthony to the coaching staff. That also includes Rich DiCaprio, Greg Heffernan, and Sean Bertoni just now. And he says he starts next Friday. But we'll
I
see
probably would too
when we get a little closer to that first game. But before we jump then over to the EHLP from the EHL, I do want to talk about that big roster announcement that we made on Monday for the college series. It's been fun for me just to see how many views the article gets online. Because, like, we're recording this Wednesday, guys. I posted that Monday, and we're going to hit 3,000 views here in the next hour or so. So, clearly people are very interested in the players that were selected. I'm not going to read off all 78 names. That's a lot right now. You can find that on the Eastern Hockey League website. But just to recap the schedule for next week.
Still the only junior hockey league playing college teams.
Exactly. In the United States. We have 2 regional teams. We have our Northeast team and we have our South Central team. And then we have what we're calling the main team, or you can call it Team EHL. So 6 games in 6 days, guys. So the regional teams
were bad.
the regional teams will meet up for practice on Monday, the 16th. I think the Southeast practice is at 2:30 and Northeast is at 3 or something like that. I gotta check my notes again. The Southeast team, or South Central team, I should say, is practicing at Stevenson's rink, where they're playing on Tuesday. Northeast team is practicing at the Avalanche / Southern New Hampshire rink, where they're playing on Wednesday. Mm-hmm. So first for that Northeast team, they play Rivier University on Tuesday at 2:00. That game will be on the Rivier Athletics website. On Wednesday at 5:00, the game against Southern New Hampshire, since it's kind of like an Avalanche home game, it's the same rink. That game will be on Flow Hockey, called by Tyler Arago.
And Walshy loves us so much too that, he's a big EHL fan. It's gonna be a blending of families.
Yes. Love that. So it's tough for the when you compare to the South Central, because Wednesday's also at 5:00 there, but on Tuesday first, the Stevenson game is at 7:00. Just like Rivier, Stevenson's broadcasting their game on their athletic website. So the good part about Tuesday the 17th is you could literally watch the 2:00 game, like have dinner,
and then turn on at 7.
Then watch the 7:00 game. Yep. Tough part for Wednesday is you have to choose to either watch Tyler Arago and the Northeast team on Flow Hockey at 5:00 against Southern New Hampshire, or watch Joe Sindoni, broadcaster of the Huntsman and the Little Flyers, called the South Central team
against Hockey Club sometimes.
Yes, against Lebanon Valley College, also on Flow Hockey. So that game is at their rink, Hershey Park Arena, where Anthony and Chris called that game last year. So
Good thing you can change back quickly on the Flow Hockey app, boys. You can just go zip, zip, zip.
You can go back and forth pretty
a little
easily.
bit everything. Yeah.
And then on Thursday, those of us that are in Pennsylvania are heading straight up to New York. From there, we're going to meet Chris and Anthony. The New York team practices on Thursday evening and then plays all the way out in Fredonia Friday night. Buckle up, Anthony. Did not quite realize that the bus ride from Brockport to Fredonia is an hour and 45 minutes one way. So that's a 7:00 game on Friday night.
I mean that's only a half hour more than the ride that Chris and I will take from Bergen County down to Central Jersey every time we call an 87s game. So
I just don't know how the traffic and the scenery compares. But yeah, we'll see. I've personally never driven that far west in New York, so I guess Fredonia. This is the geography section of the podcast. You have to go through Buffalo, right? So to get there. So that's the Friday night game. Anthony and Chris calling that one on Flow Hockey, and then turn right back around Saturday, just like last year against Brockport, 2:00 in the afternoon. Anthony and Chris on Flow Hockey again. So 4 of the 6 games are on Flow Hockey. The 2 others are on the school athletics, their department websites. 6 games in 6 days. Like I said before, all 78 names are on the league website.
Yes, they are looking at right now.
Great names there. I appreciate all 9 coaches that volunteered to be a part of that. We had a hysterical coach group text last night where I reminded all of them that they need to be wearing a shirt and tie. And
team tracksuits.
And some of the responses I just cannot repeat here on the podcast, but
family show.
They were quite entertaining. So
I can only imagine.
Now we'll shift to the EHLP, where we're learning more and more each week in the EHLP as well, guys. Maybe here I'll try and keep it symmetrical a little bit. Start in New England.
Here we go.
With the New England Wolves, who are fresh off a victory over the Valley Junior Warriors this past weekend. Arguably their best win of the season so far, knowing what Valley had done so far, guys. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, Valley, that whole division, I know we're not starting there yet because we're starting the New England division, but there was a lot of undefeated teams there. So to be able to give them their first loss, and again, we're going to get to it, but the Warriors suffered a second loss this week too. Yeah, no, that's definitely a huge feat for sure.
I mean, the Valley Junior Warriors goal differential, even with those 2 losses, still plus 34, right? I mean, I remember Ryan McGrath was telling me that he went into the locker room for an EHLP game, and he was saying that one of the players looked up at McGrath and said, "Coach, we're only winning 2-0." Whether they were nearly incredulous at the fact that they weren't pounding a team by 5 or 10 goals.
Right.
So yeah, for the Wolves to actually go beat the Valley Junior Warriors, definitely no small accomplishment. And that's the kind of win where if you're the Wolves, you hope it sets the tone for the season. Although you could also say that the Wolves also had that when they had that 4-goal comeback over the Philadelphia Little Flyers.
And it was a good back and forth game too. It was like 1-1, and the Wolves were actually up 3-1 at one point. So the Warriors crept back in, scored 2 to tie it, and then Wojtek Frida, is that how we're saying it? Game winner for Wojtek Frida from the New England Wolves.
Yeah.
Always earn our paychecks. Andrew Trimble, Tim Cuden, Lou Luttrell. Thank you, boys.
And Anthony, you mentioned that 4-goal comeback for the Wolves. That was the first of 3 straight wins that they've picked up, all by 1 goal. Maybe that should be the title of the podcast there, Jeff. 1-goal games.
Yeah. I'm telling you, it is. They're everywhere.
But a few of the other teams have been relatively quiet since the showcase. Adirondack hasn't played since the showcase. So more action throughout the division coming this upcoming week.
Yeah, it was a really light week for the Premier last week for sure.
But then sticking in the order that they're listed on the website, we go to the Mid-Atlantic Division next, and still kind of cruising along out in front, guys. 7 wins now for the Renegades. including a doubleheader sweep over the Chiefs on Monday. When do the Renegades play the 87s, Anthony? Because that's the game you want bad.
I know. I gotta look. I don't think
it's gonna be a bit. I don't
think they're playing. I don't think the Renegades are going to be playing at Jersey Shore Arena until January, if I'm remembering right.
The buildup will be huge by the time we get to January, Anthony. It's
I
only
mean,
October.
I don't know what's more surprising. The fact that the Renegades are 7-4-0. They have a +9 goal differential, and they're the least penalized team in the entire division with only 52 penalty minutes. The Huntsmen currently lead the division at 232. 87 is not far behind at 191.
I think I'm seeing December 15th might be the first time. 87's Renegades at Sports Care Arena, 8:20 face-off.
That could be it.
I mean, honestly, though, again, good for the Renegades. I mean, Cliff Graziano has been coaching that team for a long time in the EHLP, and he's finally hitting all the right buttons. And right now they're contending right in the thick of it in the Mid-Atlantic.
Anthony, you mentioned the penalty minutes. Is this the angry division of the year? I mean,
wow, Huntsman 232, Zacho leading the way.
I mean, Neil, have you been to New Jersey recently?
I'm gonna drive through it on Sunday. Should I not stop?
Well, if you're in the left lane, you better put your pedal to the pedal to the metal, as they say.
Yeah.
Same goes up here, bud. New Hampshire.
Don't go slow in the left lane. You're gonna have people giving you the official state bird of New Jersey.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know. Union also picked up their first win of the season this past weekend over those Renegades on Saturday night. So that gets us next, though, to the Boston division.
Wagon. Absolute wagon.
Look at these records, guys.
9-0, 6-1-1, 6-1-1, 6-1-1.
Well, and then speaking, I mentioned the funniest call I've received this week from Ryan McGrath. Funniest text
goes to
Mike Richard.
Hey, who said Seahawks Hockey Club. We love Mike.
Who said, "Are those the EHLP power rankings or the East Division?" Or sorry, it's the Boston division of the EHLP. Are those the Boston division power rankings? I was like, well, I did include 4 of the 5 teams in your division. Railers way out in front, I guess you could say. A perfect 9-0-0. Hashtag revenge season. And then 6-1-1 are the next 3 records that you see there. Actually, the Rangers are 6-1-2 technically. They have a shootout loss in there as well. I mean, I know where the Seahawks and Bandits stand. There's a gap there between them and that top 4. But still, you look at what they did in the showcase, each team winning a couple of games there. This, I know we call it the Boston division, but it's technically the East division also. Is the state of Massachusetts just the top state in our league right now? I mean, this division is loaded.
And look what the Railers have done, too, as far as that scheduling all these tough games off the get. And you just beat the Express. We just heard from Jake in a text from the other day. That was a 7-6 baseball game final in overtime. Then they've beaten the Warriors. They've beaten the Wolves. They've beaten the Rangers. They've beaten the Avs. A lot of 1-goal games for them. A lot of high-scoring games, too. 7 goals, 6 goals. So they're doing it in a lot of ways. They're winning a lot of tight games, but they're beating a lot of good teams, too. And I think, Neil, you had mentioned it last week that I think this division is just going to be, they're just going to beat the heck out of each other. So I think the other 2 divisions might actually prosper from this down the road, the New England and Mid-Atlantic, because these 4 are just going to beat the out of each other all year. And then don't forget about the Seahawks and Bandits, who Seahawks have only played 4 games, but they'll chip in and start playing spoiler too. And I know that Seahawks team that Mike Richard had said at the showcase too that he's expecting some good things. He loves that team, as they always do. So could be a 5-team race soon enough once they start playing some more games.
Yeah, if there is ever a situation this season where all 5 teams in the EHLP power rankings come from the same division, I may have a very angry Connell McNeilis down in 87's lane. Because what did he say at the finals, Anthony?
Keep disrespecting the Mid-Atlantic.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So it interesting.
You got the last laugh, Connell.
Oh, he most definitely did. But that does it for the EHLP. Guys, we get to actually have a full-on fantasy discussion now.
Cut it out.
So we're going to waste no time and jump to the E-Show Fantasy Challenge.
Now it's time for the E-Show Fantasy Challenge. Follow along on the EHL app, available now for free on both Apple iOS and Android.
Prior to that, though, Jeff, hockey is back, so we can actually now start talking about the fantasy hockey element of everything, not just fantasy football. Because I don't know about you, Jeff. I think everyone knows that we're Patriots fans. I may just start golfing on Sunday afternoons. I may just not even watch the games. I just check stats later on.
This past Sunday was a breaking point for me. Me and my beautiful soon-to-be wife, still fiance, for another little less than a month. We're up in New York for another wedding, and we actually just did not seek out a place to go watch the Patriots and Saints. There are plenty of other good NFL games that I'm sure people bet on, but I checked my ESPN app, saw they were getting crushed 24-0, and said, no, thank you.
You guys ever see that meme of the guy standing in the gallows? And he's just like, first time. That's my reaction to the two of you as a Jets fan.
Well,
okay?
hold on, Anthony. This is our DraftKings ad read section, but I have to make sure my hot take gets out there.
They've lost 72-3 in the last 2 weeks.
I said from the beginning that I would rather just pay Brady and get 2 more good years and then get to this point, as opposed to just go through 3 crap years to get to this point. But anyways, I get off my soapbox now and get back on the fact that I'm still
bet money. Just don't bet on the Pats.
I'm still going to be tracking the games and the stats. I just may not invest the time watching them, Jeff, because to your point, I may just start betting Patriots point total under every single time. If you score 0 points, you can't set the underline at that. So get to the sportsbook and bet that, right? That's one offer that the sportsbook probably is going to be getting out there, but they have some other good ones as well, don't they, Jeff?
Yes, they do, Neil. So new customers can bet $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. So throw $5 down on any of this week's epic matchups to walk away with an instant winner. Hopefully it's not because of the Patriots. Anywho, and DraftKings isn't stopping there. All customers can take advantage of 2 new offers every game day this September. Yes, it does include the New England Patriots, even if they stink. Football's more fun when you are in on the action. So download the app now and sign up with code THPN. New customers can bet just $5 to get $200 instantly in bonus bets, only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. With code THPN, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? If so, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, you can call 877-8-HOPENY, or you can text HOPENY. That would be 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777, or you can visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, licensee partner Golden Nugget Lake Charles, 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms for eligibility, terms, and responsible gaming resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply.
Back to hockey, because we have actual EHL fantasy points to digest and look at here. I got to show you guys the coolest thing. I mean, Justin has made some great graphics in the past, okay?
Yes.
This is another level. And he said it wasn't that hard. It's hard. Okay.
Wow.
So this is the back end of the E-Show Fantasy Challenge. You can see it, the public can't, right? This is a Google sheet where I go in and type in what each player gets for fantasy points. It then pulls onto this page, right? Mm-hmm. And then it takes 5 minutes or so. I can live with that. For it to then cycle through an update for the public to see on this page. That's a
system, folks.
This is unreal, right?
This is electric.
Well, this for my quick way too early victory lap for
I
myself
was
and
who's this Neil Ravine? Ravin? Who is
and
this guy?
I don't know who Olivia Scott is, but shout out to her and Jack.
Is that Cole Scott's mom?
Maybe
Remember Cole Scott from the Wizards?
We'll have to do some research, Jeff. But Jack Costabile.
No Wizards on that team. Though.
My God. In that 2-game series against the Chiefs, he had 4 goals, 3 assists. 5 of those 7 points came on the power play, and he had a hat trick to give us 25 points.
He leads the league with 15 points in 9 games for those keeping track at home. 8 goals, 7 assists. That's
7 of them came in that series. So he's a big reason why myself and Olivia Scott are towards the top. She is 2.2 points ahead of me, but I guess, Anthony, I should look into this. Did Carson Fry actually make 50-plus saves in that game against the Apple Core? Cam Reardon,
you could maybe steal a point.
Yeah, Cam Reardon had 2 games for me, a victory in there. Yes, myself, Jeff, and Anthony. Anthony, I'm sorry to do this.
We're all kind of spread out.
It is very early. The red does indicate e-show host, but we have a very important new rule addition to tell Anthony about right now, which I did not give you a warning about this, Anthony, because I want this to be real. If people go back to the Fantasy website, we have a new injury substitution rule, which can be made by emailing us your replacement pick and their name and their team, obviously, right? If you choose to replace a player due to injury, Anthony, I'm sorry, George Kolovos is injured and is going to be out for a few weeks.
He's not participating in the college series because
if you were to replace him right now, you would lose all points that he has accrued so far this month, and so it's technically 0. So Anthony's fine, right?
Okay.
This is where it gets interesting. And then you start with 0 with your new player as well. But it comes at an interesting point. Anthony still has 20 days left.
Right. So you want to capitalize on those 20 days. Yep.
But say I don't want to wish poorly about anyone. But another player who I know got injured is Robert Marinello. He got injured in yesterday's game between the Rangers and Avalanche. Hopefully he's back before the end of the month. But this is a very interesting decision for Colby Walters, brother of Carson Walters.
Look at that. Third place.
Do you keep the 10 points that you already have, or do you sub that in for someone that could get more than 10 points over the next 20 days?
Because then that would drop him from 3rd to 15th. He'd be around that Mike Basile guy and that Jeffrey Mazzone guy. You guys we know pretty well. And Jake Basile.
So it's an easy decision for Anthony, right? Because unless George Kolovos was coming back this week, you kind of have to have somebody new that you slot in, right?
Yeah, just try George again another time this year.
When you've already accrued some points, what do you do? So, but while Anthony continues to think about that, we'll go to some other standout performances so far. Anthony, do you know how to pronounce the Apple Core forward's last name? Vernillo?
It's Vernillo, isn't it?
I don't know yet because the 87s haven't played them yet, so I haven't really gotten the opportunity to speak with the players.
I was calling him Vernillo for the games that I had, but I didn't get any texts or calls yet.
Well, when they do, I'll get back to you on that.
You know what? We're going to go right here, Anthony, and we're going to see if he's filled it out to help us out.
Oh, yes, our new pronunciation guide. Anthony, are you on there? Anthony? Wrong Anthony. I don't see him. You know what really needs to do this for us? Andre Yuri Sago Georges.
Wow.
Yes.
Well,
can you go on there and do that? Andre Yuri, paging you.
Hasn't filled it out for us. So I know that, let's see here. Justin Horatio, who runs all their social media and does all their graphics and has Anthony picked, is going to listen to this podcast and will help us get the right pronunciation, because this past week, 4 goals, 2 shorthanded, 1 power play, 17 points.
It's good. He can snipe.
That was another standout performance. Perry Goudreau, 2 goals, 2 assists, 3 power play points for 13. Peyton Myers, Express EHLP, a goal, 5 assists, 2 on the power play, 15 points. Those are probably
Grayson
the best.
Payne of the Valley Junior Warriors, 16 points.
I was just going forward column first, but I'm going to get there. We'll go to the goalies because you mentioned Grayson Payne, Anthony. What a pick that was. Who's the one person that has Grayson Payne?
Only one person picked Grayson Payne? Really?
Greg Lane, who I believe...
He's a Warriors fan. He's got Fagan, Robinson, and Payne.
Yeah. And if Robinson
through and through
got up a few assists here between what Fagan and Payne got, he's towards the top here too. So Grayson Payne, 16 points. Charles Watson, you mentioned that, Jeff, 2 wins for 16.2 himself. Damn. Look at this. Ben Skelton didn't win a game, but he still got 9.6 points.
Those saves, folks, they get you.
Yeah. So
my boy Isaac Salja Oogie. Got that, Jake? Oogie, not Uji. Oogie. 1.6. There's a good, strong goalie rotation. I saw Frederick Patera. Actually, was kind of... I love you, Frederick. I don't know you, but congratulations on getting one of the stars of the week. But when you guys posted that graphic the other day, slammed my desk. I was like, damn it. Because that means Isaac didn't get the net. Patera's in the net. Only be one good Seahawks goalie in a net at a time.
How cool is this page, though?
It's great.
And
what we've been building for since the last 5 years that we've been doing it, we would just take it up a notch each year, throwing a new wrinkle on it. This is cool.
And we had 56 entries final total.
I think we'll start having more each contest too.
Yeah,
because it'll catch fire. People will be like, "Oh, did you win? Oh, you won? What do you win? Oh, okay."
At the bottom of this page, just so everyone can see it, picks for next month, which is November 1st through the 30th, will open the final week of this month. So you get a couple of weeks to get prepared, do some more research. I could have a conversation with Gavin Samopoulos, okay? Let's just talk about this for a second, Gavin, okay? You guys get shut out in your first loss of the season, which a shutout means I get no points, okay? This is all about having my red name right at the top, and then I obviously can't win my own contest, so we'll go to the second place at that point. But it's between Gavin Samopoulos and Hayden Bullock, really, at the top there, because that's who Olivia has for her forward. So just keep that in mind, guys. But you can get to this page on our website. It's under the media section at the top toolbar, or, of course, through that app. If you click on the menu on the right side, there's a button that says Fantasy Challenge. So you can follow this thing along as we're going. You know what we should do, guys?
Mm-hmm.
We're recording this during games.
We are.
Let's see who's getting points right now. Here you go. The only goals on the board right now in the EHL, but these are players that have been picked: Tristan Boyer and Jack Weidman. So there you go. If you got some Railers picks,
yes, I got Tristan Boyer. Let's go.
Okay, Jeff, you were thinking for a second there, Jeff. Yeah, I can see it. You're like, do I have him? I think I have him. I have him.
Points live. Let's go.
Yeah. So there you go. There's legit 3 points live for you right there. So
that's exciting.
Yeah, no, it's just fun because it's it's outside of the wins and losses and the commitments and whatnot. You can actually compete for yourself with our fantasy challenge this year. So it's gonna be fun to see where different teams or different people are at as the month of October unfolds. But with that, we'll transition now into what to watch for, which may include some games to watch for, highlighted by some of these players that we're trying to get some fantasy points for.
And now here's what to watch for in the EHL and the EHLP.
What to watch for is presented by Flow Hockey, the official streaming platform for your EHL and EHLP action throughout the 2023-2024 season.
So, of course, we're not going to have a full podcast episode next week. So what to watch for includes the college series that I mentioned earlier. A reminder, you can go to our website, find that roster announcement article, and it shows you where each game is being broadcast. If it's easier to remember this, for the games on Tuesday, they're being broadcast on the school websites, Rivier and Stevenson. For the games on Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, they're all being broadcast on Flow Hockey. Tuesday school, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Flow Hockey. So that's really the games to watch for the most part in the EHL. But I'll pick a game as well. And you know what jumps out to me right away, guys, is an upcoming 2-game home series for Providence versus the Apple Corps this Friday and Saturday night. And Jeff, you mentioned this earlier. When the Apple Corps play, it's a 1-goal game. Nice. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get 2 more of them this weekend. Both games are at Providence. So I'm keeping an eye on that series on Friday and Saturday night. How about you guys?
I'm just gonna say I think I'm picking a pair of it's gonna be a trip for Rangers, Warriors, EHL, and EHLP. Because we talked about the Warriors earlier, hungry team that's got 2 good wins. Can they cool off the Boston Junior Rangers EHL squad? And then speaking of our wagon of an EHLP Boston division, the 6-1-1 Rangers P taking on the 6-1-1 Warriors P. I think that's 2 excellent matchups for
sure.
all the fans to watch at home on Flow Hockey. So I'm going to go with those 2.
Anthony, wrap us up. We're going to, I already said we have to watch your games that you're calling.
I'm trying to think. I think I'll be keeping an eye out on HC Rhode Island this weekend. They have a game coming up against the Connecticut Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the question is, we were talking about the Central Division. How strong are the teams not named the Railers? So I think that'll be yeah.
That's a t-shirt, Anthony, right there.
We know you're strong, Railers. How strong are the rest of you? I
mean, also, is this going to be the first time we're going to see a matchup between the 2 Thunders coming up this weekend? The Union Junior Thunder and the Adirondack Junior Thunder. Or Union will be making the trip up to Cool Insuring Arena at the CIA.
You know what? You want to talk about over-under bets, Anthony? How many times does Thunderstruck get played?
Or Thunder by Imagine Dragons.
Ooh.
Just play both on repeat, just to rip them the whole game. You'll be like, what is going on? This is cheesy as heck.
I might have to go with the over, or, see how many times that Brennan Dowd is going to call it the Thunderdome, since he'll probably be on the call for those games for Adirondack. No, I mean, he's a good broadcaster. It was fun listening to his games when the 87s went up to Adirondack, but I'm sure he'll have a field day with that.
Yes, as he should. So, again, we're going to try and get out maybe some sort of interview or something next week. Won't be a full podcast episode. I don't even know if I'm going to have signal to be recording where I'm going to be driving from. I've never really driven.
It's going to be a bear and moose country up there.
I've never really driven from Hershey, Pennsylvania north. So do you think there's signal there, Anthony? I can't imagine there's a lot of signal.
What caboose you driving there, Commish?
It's a large SUV. If it's what I got last year that was a
Tahoe.
Well, Neil, just remember that arena in Hershey Park is literally right next to the amusement park, so you'll be right there.
Ooh.
Well, if we were to start the podcast while I was there, I'd have signal. But I'm saying once I start driving north, Anthony, I'm not sure how much I'm going to have. If I get the Nissan Armada again, though, Jeff, I'm sure.
Nissan.
Yes, Jake will call it the Nielsen Armada the second he gets in. But hey, I got all these All-Star jerseys. Everyone's got a suit to wear, multiple suits to wear. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff to bring. So
get in
Jeff,
the tank, bud.
It'll be like that one time we had the finals in Philly, and I didn't hit a damn thing down the whole way down, and then I hit the curve.
Ripped the curve in the parking lot
of the hotel. I was driving this thing so well until that curve got in the way. So
it's okay.
But again, for those that are going to be following along at home, we do have a number of league games leading up to that college series. But to make it very easy, on Tuesday, the 2 regional college series games are both on the school websites. On Wednesday, the 2 regional college series games are both on Flow Hockey. You want to listen to Tyler Arago? You can get the Northeast game versus SNU. You want to listen to Joe Sindoni? That's the South Central game versus Lebanon Valley College.
And do us a favor and just listen to all of them because they're all good.
Go back and forth. Boom, 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 boom. And then for the New York games, Chris and Anthony on the call, 7 o'clock against Fredonia next Friday night, 2 o'clock against Brockport on the Saturday. It's 20th and 21st. Both those games on Flow Hockey as well. We had just recovered from the showcase guys.
They're going back in the ringer.
Now this is like going to be an absolute bear, no pun intended, New Jersey Bear week. But we'll get through it. Then we'll take 2 more weeks in recovery again. So, Jeff, sorry you cannot make the All-Star Week trip with us, but
it's all right, man. Off in college hocky territory.
Yes.
Back to I got Huskies versus Falcons. Both my teams playing each other at Matthews Arena Saturday. That's going to be a
perfect burger. Well, we'll have plenty of on the road stories for you and for the podcast when we get on next. And Anthony, I'll see you next week, and we'll talk to you both soon.
Sounds good. Good luck, boys.
Thanks for listening to The E Show, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. Learn more about us at easternhockeyleague.org and follow us on all of your favorite social media platforms. Also, be sure to subscribe and get notified when our next podcast episode is released.